In the ancient hills of Galilee, far from the noise of modern life, Jesus Christ established a profound spiritual practice that has been largely overlooked in conventional religious teachings. His meditation practice was not simply an occasional ritual, but a foundational element of his spiritual power. While many focus solely on his teachings and miracles, the source of his divine connection was rooted in his consistent meditative practice. The Gospel accounts provide subtle clues about Jesus' meditation habits, describing how he would frequently withdraw to lonely places to pray. What these passages don't explicitly state, but spiritual scholars have recognized, is that these moments weren't merely prayer in the conventional sense. They were deep, meditative states of communion with the divine source. Jesus would rise very early in the morning while it was still dark, finding solitude in the wilderness, on mountaintops, or in gardens where he could align his consciousness with the universal energy. These weren't random occurrences, but a disciplined practice that formed the foundation of his spiritual authority. The 40 days in the wilderness represents one of the most profound examples of his extended meditative retreat, where he achieved complete alignment with divine consciousness. Ancient texts beyond the canonical Gospels offer additional insights into Jesus' meditative practices. Some suggest he studied with Essene communities, known for their contemplative traditions, while others point to his possible exposure to Eastern meditative techniques during the lost years, not documented in Scripture. Browne's spiritual research has indicated that Jesus incorporated elements of what we would now recognize as mindfulness and transcendental meditation into his spiritual practice, creating a powerful synthesis unique to his divine mission. What made Jesus' meditation distinct was its purpose, not self-improvement or stress relief, as modern meditation is often positioned, but complete surrender and alignment with the divine will. His practice focused on emptying himself to become a clear channel for spiritual power. This emptying was not about becoming nothing, but rather about creating space for the divine energy to flow through him unobstructed. Jesus' meditation took place in specific geographic locations that amplified energetic connections. The Mount of Olives, the Sea of Galilee, and the Garden of Gethsemane were not chosen randomly, but selected for their vibrational qualities that enhanced spiritual attunement. These sacred spaces contained energetic vortexes that Jesus instinctively recognized and utilized to deepen his meditative states. The timing of his practice followed cosmic rhythms, dawn, dusk, and specific lunar phases, when the veil between physical and spiritual realms thins. His understanding of these optimal meditation windows demonstrates a sophisticated spiritual knowledge that transcended the religious understanding of his time. Rather than viewing meditation as separate from prayer, Jesus integrated these practices, creating a seamless spiritual discipline that activated his divine potential. Scripture tells us that during these meditative states, Jesus' appearance would sometimes be transformed, most dramatically during the Transfiguration, revealing that his practice altered not only his consciousness, but his very energetic signature. These moments of illumination were the visible manifestation of the inner spiritual power he accessed through meditation. The power of Jesus' meditation extended far beyond personal enlightenment. It was the essential conduit through which he maintained his unbroken connection with the divine source. This connection wasn't merely conceptual or theological. It was a living, vibrant channel of energy that flowed between the physical and spiritual realms, allowing divine wisdom and power to manifest through his being. When Jesus stated, "The Father and I are one," he wasn't speaking metaphorically, but describing the state of consciousness he achieved through his meditative practice. This union with the divine represents the highest potential of meditation, a complete dissolution of the perceived barriers between individual consciousness and universal awareness. Through disciplined meditation, Jesus demonstrated that this divine union isn't reserved for special beings, but is our natural state when we remove the obstructions of ego and limited perception. The essence of Jesus' meditative approach was receptivity rather than striving. Unlike many spiritual practices that emphasize effort and achievement, Jesus' meditation centered on opening himself completely to divine presence. This receptive stance created the perfect conditions for spiritual power to flow through him unimpeded. In the Garden of Gethsemane, even in his moment of greatest trial, his meditation culminated in the profound surrender. Not my will, but yours be done. This represents the ultimate purpose of spiritual meditation, aligning our limited human will with the infinite divine will. Jesus' meditation functioned as a form of spiritual respiration, inhaling divine energy and exhaling compassionate service. This continuous cycle of reception and expression established the rhythm of his ministry. Before each significant teaching or healing, the Gospels note that Jesus would withdraw to meditate, filling his spiritual reserves before pouring them out in service to humanity. This pattern reveals a crucial spiritual principle. Our ability to channel divine power is directly proportional to our commitment to spiritual communion through meditation. The vibrational aspect of Jesus' meditation cannot be overstated. When in deep meditative states, he accessed frequencies of consciousness beyond ordinary human experience. These elevated vibrations allowed him to perceive spiritual realities invisible to others, including the presence of angels, discarnate beings, and the intricate energetic patterns underlying physical manifestation. His statement that the kingdom of heaven is within you points to this internal dimension of spiritual reality that becomes accessible through meditation. Jesus taught that meditation is not an escape from the world, but the means to perceive its true nature. Through stilling the mind and opening the heart, he demonstrated how we can pierce the veil of material illusion to recognize the divine presence permeating all existence. This perceptual shift was the foundation of his healing work, seeing beyond physical limitations to the perfect divine template underlying all creation. The intimacy of Jesus' connection with the divine through meditation transformed his understanding of God from an external, distant deity to an indwelling presence, Abba, or Father. This intimate relationship, cultivated through countless hours of meditative communion, revolutionized spiritual understanding in his time and continues to offer a profound model for our own practice. Rather than approaching the divine as supplicants, Jesus showed us how to connect as beloved children in direct communion with our spiritual source. In his meditative states, Jesus accessed what modern spiritual teachers might call the Akashic records, the universal field of information containing all knowledge, past and future. This explains his seemingly miraculous ability to know others' thoughts, histories, and potential futures. Such access wasn't supernatural, but represented the natural capacity of consciousness when fully aligned with divine awareness through deep meditation. The transformative power of Jesus' meditation was not limited to his own consciousness, but created ripples throughout the collective consciousness of humanity. Each time he entered profound meditative communion, he established energetic pathways that made such states more accessible to all who would follow his example. In this way, his meditation practice wasn't just personal, but a gift to all of humanity, an opening of spiritual doorways that remain accessible to this day. The meditation practice exemplified by Jesus demonstrates a profound system for elevating spiritual energy and unlocking latent divine potential within the human experience. While modern science now confirms meditation's benefits for physical and mental health, Jesus understood its deeper capacity to transform spiritual energy and consciousness at the most fundamental levels. This transformation isn't merely subjective, but represents an actual shift in your vibrational frequency, the rate at which your energy field oscillates and interacts with universal forces. When you engage in meditation similar to Jesus' approach, you initiate a process of energetic purification. Just as Jesus withdrew to cleanse his energy from worldly vibrations, your regular practice creates a spiritual detoxification, removing dense energies accumulated through daily exposure to lower frequencies. This purification isn't symbolic, but a literal raising of your vibrational signature. As Jesus taught, you cannot put new wine into old wineskins. The vessel of your consciousness must be cleansed through meditation to hold higher spiritual energies. The awakening of spiritual power through meditation follows predictable, energetic patterns. As you still your mind and open your heart in meditation, you activate what Eastern traditions call the chakra system, energy centers that Jesus was intimately familiar with, though he used different terminology. The historical records of light emanating from Jesus' heart, hands, and crown during certain moments reflect the activation of these energy centers through his meditative practice. Your consistent meditation similarly awakens these dormant energy vortices, allowing divine light to flow more freely through your entire being. One of the most significant benefits of Jesus-inspired meditation is the expansion of consciousness beyond the limitations of ego identity. When Jesus stated, "Before Abraham was, I am," he wasn't making a historical claim, but expressing his meditation-derived awareness of existence beyond time and physical incarnation. Your meditation practice gradually dissolves the artificial boundaries of separate selfhood, allowing you to experience the same cosmic consciousness that Jesus accessed, a state where your individual awareness merges with universal awareness without losing its unique expression. The development of spiritual gifts follows naturally from this expanded consciousness. The abilities Jesus demonstrated, healing, prophecy, discernment of spirits, manifestation, and profound wisdom, weren't supernatural anomalies, but the natural expressions of fully activated spiritual consciousness. These capacities lie dormant within your spiritual DNA, awaiting activation through dedicated meditation. The veil between your ordinary awareness and these latent abilities grows thinner with each meditation session, eventually allowing these gifts to flow naturally through you as they did through Jesus. Spiritual protection represents another crucial benefit of meditation as practiced by Jesus. Notice how he remained centered and unmoved, even when surrounded by chaotic energies, opposition, or spiritual darkness. This wasn't coincidental, but the result of his meditation-strengthened energy field. Regular meditation creates a similar protective aura around your consciousness, not by building walls, but by raising your vibration to a frequency where lower energies cannot easily attach or penetrate. This explains why Jesus could move through hostile crowds unharmed, and why advanced meditators often report a natural immunity to negative energetic influences. The acceleration of spiritual evolution through meditation cannot be overstated. What might take lifetimes of ordinary experience can be accomplished in years or even months through dedicated meditation practice. Jesus' 3-year ministry represented the culmination of intense spiritual development accessed through meditation. Your own spiritual unfoldment similarly compresses when you commit to regular meditation, as you bypass the slower path of learning exclusively through external experience and access direct spiritual knowing through inner communion. Perhaps the most profound benefit is the restoration of your divine identity. Jesus' statement, "You are God's," wasn't hyperbole, but a recognition of the true nature meditation reveals. The amnesia of spiritual identity that afflicts humanity begins to lift through consistent meditation, allowing you to recognize yourself as you truly are, not merely a physical being having occasional spiritual experiences, but a spiritual being having a temporary physical experience. This remembrance of your divine nature, facilitated through meditation, is the true meaning behind being born again, an awakening to your original spiritual identity. The cultivation of unconditional love, the highest spiritual vibration, flourishes naturally through meditation. Jesus' boundless compassion flowed from his meditation, nurtured connection with the source of all love. As you meditate, the heart center gradually opens, dissolving judgment and separation, allowing divine love to flow unobstructed through your consciousness. This isn't sentimental emotionalism, but a powerful force that Jesus harnessed to heal, transform, and awaken those around him, a capacity that becomes increasingly available to you through dedicated meditation practice. To truly embody the spiritual power that Jesus accessed through meditation, we must move beyond theory into practical application. The following techniques distill the essence of Jesus' meditative approach into accessible practices that you can integrate into your modern life. These aren't arbitrary methods, but carefully reconstructed practices based on spiritual insights about Jesus' own meditation techniques, designed to activate the same divine connection he maintained. Begin with the breath of spirit meditation, reflecting Jesus' understanding of breath as the carrier of divine essence, what he called ruach or pneuma. Find a quiet space at dawn, following Jesus' pattern of early morning communion. Sit with spine erect but not rigid, eyes gently closed. Breathe deeply through the nose, holding awareness that each breath carries divine intelligence. As you inhale, silently affirm, "I receive the breath of spirit." And as you exhale, "I release all that separates me from divine presence." Continue for 20 minutes, allowing your breathing to become increasingly subtle as you attune to the spiritual current flowing through the breath. This practice directly mirrors Jesus' own breath meditation that preceded his most powerful spiritual demonstrations. The heart-centered presence meditation activates the spiritual heart center, the seat of divine consciousness that Jesus referenced when speaking of the pure in heart. Place your hand over your heart center and visualize a warm, golden light emanating from this region. Silently repeat the Aramaic word Abba, Father, on the inhale, and Ruha, Spirit, on the exhale, synchronizing breath with these sacred sounds. Feel each repetition, dissolving the barriers between your consciousness and divine awareness. Jesus used similar mantric practices to maintain continuous communion with the divine source, creating the unbroken connection that powered his ministry. To develop the receptive consciousness that characterized Jesus' communion, practice the empty cup meditation. Visualize yourself as an empty vessel, like the cup at the Last Supper, waiting to be filled with divine presence. Begin by systematically releasing all preconceptions, mental chatter, and ego-based identity. Silently affirm, "I empty myself to be filled with divine light." Maintain this receptive emptiness for 15 to 20 minutes, allowing divine impressions, insights, and energy to flow into your consciousness without analysis or interpretation. This practice replicates Jesus' complete surrender to divine will and opens the same channels of spiritual receptivity he accessed. The mountain solitude visualization honors Jesus' practice of withdrawing to mountains for intensive meditation. Even in your urban environment, this technique creates a sacred inner landscape. Visualize yourself ascending a mountain path with each breath, leaving behind worldly concerns with each step upward. At the summit, experience the vast perspective that Jesus sought, seeing life from the viewpoint of the eternal rather than the temporal. Remain in this expanded awareness for 20 minutes, allowing divine wisdom to infuse your consciousness from this elevated perspective. This practice attunes you to the same cosmic viewpoint that informed Jesus' transcendent teachings. For developing spiritual perception beyond physical limitations, practice the inner eye meditation. Jesus referred to the eye becoming single as the gateway to spiritual illumination. Close your physical eyes and bring attention to the spiritual eye center between the eyebrows. Visualize this center opening like a window between worlds, allowing divine light to stream into your consciousness. Without straining, maintain gentle awareness at this point for 15-20 minutes, allowing your perception to shift from external focus to inner spiritual vision. This activates the same faculty Jesus used to perceive spiritual realities beyond physical appearance, seeing the perfect divine template rather than material limitations. To cultivate the healing consciousness that flowed through Jesus, practice the divine conduit meditation. Visualize yourself as a hollow bamboo, a clear channel through which divine energy can flow unobstructed. Begin by focusing on your crown center, visualizing it opening to receive divine light. Experience this light descending through your being, purifying and activating each energy center before flowing out through your hands as healing energy. Silently affirm, "I am a pure channel for divine healing power." Maintain this flow visualization for 20 minutes, allowing your energy system to acclimate to conducting progressively stronger currents of spiritual force. Jesus' meditation wasn't compartmentalized, but integrated into every moment through continuous awareness. Develop this through the practice of presence, maintaining divine awareness during ordinary activities. Choose one daily activity, walking, eating, or working, and perform it with complete presence, recognizing the divine energy infusing every aspect of the experience. Silently acknowledge Christ consciousness is present now throughout the activity. This transforms mundane moments into opportunities for divine communion. just as Jesus maintained spiritual connection, whether in the temple or the marketplace. For those seeking the transformative power Jesus demonstrated, consistency trumps intensity. Begin with just 20 minutes daily, gradually expanding both duration and depth. The spiritual awakening Jesus embodied wasn't achieved through sporadic practice, but through unwavering dedication to divine communion. As you follow these techniques with sincere devotion, the same spiritual power that flowed through Jesus becomes increasingly accessible in your life, not as a historical remembrance, but as a living reality, activating your birthright of divine potential and spiritual mastery that has always been within you, waiting to be awakened through the timeless practice of sacred meditation. The sacred meditation practices of Jesus are now in your hands. This ancient wisdom has the power to transform your spiritual life, just as it has for countless seekers before you. Don't let this divine knowledge remain merely information. Put it into practice today and witness the awakening of your spiritual power. If this teaching has resonated with your soul, please subscribe to receive more spiritual revelations that have been hidden from the masses. Your subscription ensures these sacred truths continue to reach those who seek higher consciousness. Share your meditation experiences in the comments below. What spiritual gifts have you begun to unlock? What insights have you received? Your testimony may be the light that guides another seeker on their path to spiritual awakening. Remember, the divine power that flowed through Jesus awaits within you. Subscribe, comment, and join our community of spiritual seekers walking the path of Christ consciousness together.